Hello, happy equinox, autumn equinox. This is 2021, September 22nd of 2021. And today, well, it was earlier this afternoon in this time zone anyways, was equinox. And it's very hard to resist teaching about equanimity, to teach about anything other than equanimity when it's equinoxes. It's like, it feels like I just have to do it. But a kind of a different aspect of it tonight than maybe has been talked about before, by me on this channel at least. And last week, on this Zoom and YouTube drop-in meditation, we talked about what's here and what's needed. So paying attention to what's showing up in the present moment for us, in our minds and bodies, hearts, lives, and discerning what's needed to really bring balance to that. Not to try and fix it or get rid of it or suppress anything or bypass anything, but really just taking time to meet what's here, what's showing up for me physically, emotionally, mentally, etc. And then if it's something that's really pulling us off center or throwing us into reactivity, spinning us into a lot of story, then it's skillful to ask ourselves what's needed here to bring this heart, body, mind back into some equanimity or balance. Some steadiness and lack of reactivity. A well-known meditation Dharma teacher, Gil Fronsdal, said this, that we can practice with equanimity by studying the ways that we get caught. And this kind of relates to that topic from last week. One of the ways to practice equanimity is to study, really pay attention to the ways we're pulled off balance, pulled into reactivity, or caught in loops of our mind, going over things and obsessing about things. And because one way is to practice and really look at non-reactivity, and or the way Gil is also pointing out here, this careful attention to how balance is lost and how reactivity is triggered. And so that's kind of what we're going to turn towards a little bit more tonight. I'm going to save that part. Okay. So there's something some of you may have heard of and some may not in the teachings of meditation called the vicissitudes, are called, otherwise known as the 8 worldly winds. And these 8 worldly winds on this windy, well, it's windy here right now, are the ways we're blown about, pushed off course, thrown off balance at times, depending on how we relate with these things. And so these are, these 8 conditions are 4 pairs of things that arise for us. And so the first one is called pleasure and pain. And it's hard to even know what to say about that, because it just seems so obvious that we all experience pleasure and pain. So this can be physical, mental, or emotional. And certainly when something is pleasant, we tend to want more of it and cling to it and try to maneuver our lives so that we're holding on to that or having more of it. And conversely, when something is painful, physically, mentally, emotionally, we want to get rid of it. We don't like it, of course. It's unpleasant, painful. It's more than unpleasant. We're talking about pain here. And so that's the first grouping, pleasure and pain. And the next one is called gain and loss. Primarily, this is often talked about as financial, or material. Material is a better word, not just financial, but material gain and loss of what we think is ours, what we get, what we want to have and keep and have more of, and the pain of losing what we think is ours, and the loss of good fortune in that way. The third grouping is called praise and blame. And this is, again, seems a little obvious. When someone praises us, do we cling to that and think, oh, yes, I am this and that. I am whatever good qualities we're being praised for. And we take that on as who we are and create an identity around it. And then when someone blames us, we don't want that identity so much. We're like, no, I'm not, you are, da, 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 da. Or maybe we really cling also to the blame, like, yes, I am, I'm a terrible person and I'm so ashamed, and it becomes another huge identity. The last grouping is called fame and disrepute. It sounds similar kind of to praise and blame, but fame is really when you're really well known or receiving accolades for some accomplishment. And then, like, say you published a book or something and getting great reviews, and then there's like some terrible review or something, and that rug feels like it's pulled out from underneath you. Or being publicly disreputed, spoken about in a way that's really negative and painful. So we may not be experiencing fame or disrepute so much, depending on our lives. That's not something I've had much experience with, but certainly the other 6 of pleasure and pain, gain and loss, praise and blame, definitely have experienced all of those. And the key is to not take it personally. Not taking it personally is the way to freedom from these worldly winds tossing us about. Letting go of the identification with it, that I am this. This is who I am. It's that identification which causes us to really get pulled side to side and up and down in these worldly winds, and a complete lack of equanimity or stability, steadfast clarity, wisdom, compassion to ride through those worldly winds, those storms of life that are going to affect and do affect all of us. And the key, or one of the great insights with this, is to understand that all of these arisings and passings are coming from causes and conditions that are beyond your control, beyond our control. Most things. It's surprising, actually, when you really look at it, how little control we actually have. We have control over our own reactivity. That's our That's our ground. But what happens is so many variables, infinite variables of what throws us off course. It's beyond our control. The politics and the weather and our ancestry and history and race and gender and afflictions of abuse and illness. And I mean, you can just go on infinitely, and all the other people, throw in a few other people and how they affect us. This is all beyond our control. And yet, so all these worldly winds are arising from causes and conditions. And this is related to what's called, in Sanskrit, it's called karma. In Pali, which is the language of these Dharma teachings, meditation teachings, from the time of the Buddha, is called kama, K-A-M-M-A. And in Sanskrit, that became karma, becomes karma. Yeah, so this is what I want to talk about, that actually this, all right, too many pieces. When we work with equanimity as a meditation practice, it's one of what are called the divine abodes or Brahma Vihara practices, the heart practices of loving kindness, which we call metta, compassion, some may know that as karuna, and mudita or resonant joy, harmonic joy. Equanimity is the fourth of these Brahma Viharas. It's a heart quality. It's the radiant and accepting, steady, compassionate heart. Heart mind, you could also say. The heart of awareness, the aware heart. And the phrase that's used when you use equanimity as a meditation Brahma Vihara practice or heart abode meditation practice is a phrase about karma or kama. And so I want to explain a little bit about the wording of this, these phrases that are used for this part of the practice, because I know for me it was like super confusing and seemed rather harsh. I was like, what's that about? That doesn't seem like a heart quality phrase. So it's when we're using this phrase with relation to others, and which includes ourselves, it's you are the heir to this, to your karma, and your happiness or suffering depends upon your actions. And I always thought, that's a bit rough. That's not very compassionate. I didn't really understand that until I sat a bit of a longer retreat, just really practicing with this, and had some teachings that were very helpful. And I also had to like shift the phrasing just a little bit so that I could actually practice with it and approach it and let it touch my heart. So the way that resonates for me is I am the heir of this kama, rather than I'm the heir of my karma. Like that ownership of it, like it's like meaning like everything that, yeah, it just, so to say I'm the heir of this kama, to me, is approachable. Like this moment, I'm the heir to it, the inheritor of it. This is, it's manifesting in this moment like this, in this heart, body, mind. All the infinite, timeless factors are showing up like this right now. And then like this right now, it just keeps flowing through. So it's just saying this moment is like this. I am the heir of this karma in this moment, this karma or karma in this moment. And I can kind of get my heart and head around that. Like, yeah, okay, I get that. It's like this right now. It's not my fault. I didn't ask for all this. I'm not totally the only one responsible for how this moment is showing up. There's infinite ripples. Like karma, for me, is a visual is like a very still pond with like these raindrops, making drops all over that pond and creating ripples. So every being, all thoughts, actions, and speech create ripples, right? Everything we do has an effect. Even if we're alone in a cave, that's an action and has an effect. So all those infinite ripples are like they keep getting wider until they start to intersect with each other. This is karma, is this understanding that it's not just everything I do ripples back onto me. That's the Facebook version of karma. Karma is very complex, and we're affecting each other, and everything is affecting us. Okay, so the first part of the phrase is, as I said, I am the heir of this karma. This moment, it's like this. This life in this moment is like this for this being. Now, my happiness or suffering depends upon my intentional actions, not upon my wishes for myself. So it's like this right now, and whether or not the next moment is going to be conditioned to be happier or suffering depends upon now what I do with this moment, how I respond to it, how I react, how I spin out, or how I stay equanimous, steady, centered, wise, compassionate, clear, present, connected, all of these qualities. So karma is really about, it's really about the next moment more than it is about like all these infinite variables that have conditioned this moment. And it's like, okay, I'm the heir of this karma. And now my happiness or suffering depend upon my intentional actions. They're important word there, intentional. Because harm is sometimes caused unintentionally. We can still have regret and remorse about that for sure, and intention to not cause that further harm in future by being unaware. But really, karma is about intentional speech, actions, and thoughts. Not upon my wishes for myself. You see, that's beautiful. Like, yeah, I wish it wasn't this way, and I want this, and I wish for this, and I hope this. That can be helpful to cultivate the heart with our wishes and intentions, but it's really what words, actions, thoughts am I going to cultivate and condition the next moments in happiness or suffering. That makes sense. We'll have a time for a chat about it for those of us that are on the Zoom call after the recording ends. I'd love to hear your questions or reflections on if that's making sense. I wish we were all together to just have a chat about it. Yeah. So we're going to practice cultivating this heart quality of steadiness and equanimity on this day of equinox. and see what it touches for us, what it cultivates. All right, so if you're, for all who are practicing here, this being one of the heart quality meditations, just see what you need, what will support you to be comfortable, awake, and at ease. So you could dim your lights. You might like to turn away from the computer and just hear the words. Some might need to lay down if you're experiencing pain. Just gonna have a drink. And I'll just mention that I'll be starting, once we settle into the meditation, I'm going to start with a poem. It's called The Facts of Life by Padraig Otwama, I think it is. I'll write it out and put the link below the YouTube, and I'll put it here in the Zoom after we finish as well. So finding what posture is helpful for you to feel centered. Feeling this plumb line of our spine, this sense of uprightness, centeredness, and weightedness right here in the body. And if you're practicing laying down, you can still connect with that sense of your center. And as you begin to connect to this sense of center, see if you can invite some ease around the outer form, the muscles, softening any tension that isn't needed in the area of the face. Resting the eyes in a posture that's supportive for your wakefulness and calming. That may be eyes closed or eyes slightly open. Relaxing, softening face and then neck and shoulders. And when you're ready, inviting some ease through the heart center and the belly center. Sometimes we practice with a meditation called soft belly meditation. Those inner layers of activation in the deep muscles of the belly. Seeing if to some degree that could let go a little bit. Still feeling this sense of uprightness and centeredness. as if the spine or the center of our being is a plumb line, and the weight of the sacrum, the tailbone, the pelvis, connecting us to center of the earth. The support of the ground has this stabilizing, equanimous quality, as if our body is a pyramid or a mountain. And then I'll be quiet here for a few minutes, and we'll all just rest as much as possible into this felt experience of the present moment, centered, grounded, balanced, balancing. And in that time where you're practicing with yourself and we're holding this practice together, the invitation from Gil Fronsdale that we can practice equanimity by studying the ways that we get caught. So at times you might notice that the mind picks up into plans or worries, irritations, frustrations, desire, ill will, etc. And we don't judge it, we just want to really get to know it. Ah, there's a pattern here, a tendency. And after that's noticed, just come back into this feeling of centered and grounded, like a pyramid or a mountain. We're simply allowing ourselves to just sit with mindfulness, attention, so that we can see and know and study the places we may get caught or how balance may be lost. And we see if there's a tendency to get caught in future planning, rehashing things that have already happened, reinventing fantasies or desires. Is there a tendency to judge ourselves or doubt? And now, with kindness and friendliness, as much as possible, curiosity, we'll begin to work with these traditional phrases of equanimity, cultivation of steadiness amidst the worldly winds. I am the heir of this karma, or the owner. This karma is from infinite conditions, some of them my intentional or volitional actions and words that have conditioned this present moment, and many from infinite variables beyond my knowing. This being is like this in this moment. I am the heir of this karma. You can repeat that to yourself. I am the heir of this karma, or you can reflect on it. And understanding and feeling the heart, mind really connecting with this understanding, my happiness or suffering in this present and future moments depend upon my intentional actions, not upon my wishes for myself, but actually how I respond to this present moment conditions the next moment. So you can repeat to yourself or reflect, my happiness or suffering depends upon my actions, not upon my wishes. I am the heir of this karma. My happiness or suffering depends upon my actions, not upon my wishes. And now we can bring into our heart mind awareness someone that the heart easily connects with, a dear one, friend or family, or whatever your heart can easily connect with, someone that you easily have kind wishes for, best wishes for. And they may be experiencing these worldly winds, either pleasure or pain or gain or loss, etc. And with a heart imbued with kindness and care, you are the heir of this karma. Your happiness or suffering depends upon your intentional actions, not upon your wishes for yourself. With the understanding of care and compassion, you are the owner or the heir of this karma. Your happiness or suffering depends upon your actions, not upon my wishes for you or your wishes for yourself. And now, as much as is possible, we allow our awareness, our imaginations to draw back the curtains in all directions so that our heart, mind connects with all beings. all the beings in front and behind, beside, above and below. Just to whatever degree, might just extend into the home you're in or the neighborhood, or to whatever distance and degree is available for the awareness to imagine and connect all beings. All beings are the heirs of the karma. Our happiness or suffering depends upon our actions, not upon my wishes for you or your wishes for yourself. And as you continue just resting in this as much as possible connection with all beings, including ourselves, I'll offer this poem by Padraig Tuama called The Facts of Life. That you were born and you will die. That you will sometimes love enough and sometimes not. That you will lie, if only to yourself. That you will get tired. That you will learn most from the situations you did not choose. That there will be some things that move you more than you can say. That you will live, that you must be loved. That you will avoid questions most urgently in need of your attention. That you began as the fusion of a sperm and an egg of two people who once were strangers and may still be. That life isn't fair. That life is sometimes good and sometimes better than good. That life is often not so good. That life is real, and if you can survive it well, survive it well, with love and art and meaning given where meaning is scarce. That you will learn to live with regret. That you will learn to live with respect. That the structures that constrict you may not be permanently constraining. That you will probably be okay. That you must accept change before you die, but you will die anyway. So you might as well live, and you might as well love. You might as well love. You might as well love. I am the heir of this karma. My happiness or suffering depend upon my actions, not upon my wishes for myself. Thank you for those who are practicing equanimity with us on the YouTube channel. And I'll link the poem down below. And there's also a link there to offer support for the continuation of the Dharma and support for me if you're able to. So thank you.